Okay. Oh, and we got Matt's just entered the waiting room. Lovely. Some more people. Okay, so officially good morning and welcome. Lovely to see you all here today. I apologize for the slightly croaky nature of my voice today. Something's going on, don't know what it is, should be fine. I'm hydrating, so we should be absolutely fine. And welcome to Ambition Broxbourne and this session, which is about content marketing and why video is vital. So this session is kind of broken into two parts. The first part is talking generally about content marketing, so which is incredibly important. Content is what people engage with and care about. It doesn't matter how many times you post on Facebook. It doesn't matter how many blogs you put up onto your website. If your content is poor and it's not properly targeted, people aren't going to care about it. So we're going to explore this morning just some of the basic principles of good content and what that is about and some of the things we can do about it. And the second part of the session, we will have a little kind of 5-minute break. The second part of the session is talking about video. Generally about why video is so important at the moment. You need to be using video in your digital marketing strategy. I've got the evidence to prove it. We're going to talk about why it's important, how the different platforms are using it at the moment, whether there's your website or your social media channels, and also a very high level thing about some equipment you might want to be using, some tips on recording, particularly if you're going to be recording yourself, as well as opportunities potentially to monetize video content, although to be honest with you, those opportunities for small organizations that have a small viewership are few and far between. Does that Janet in? Lovely. I will pop that out actually, so I can. Ooh, and we got Claire. Excellent. Where is the participants tab? And I'm just going to pop it out. So it is, I can see it properly. There we go, should be there. Pop out, you can just float around in the corner and it's out of my way. Nice, excellent. So I would normally use this opportunity to go around the screen and get people to introduce themselves. There's quite a lot of people here and we've got a small window of time. So please use the chat function to talk about your businesses, to put links into your websites, so people can have a little look at what's going on, because this is going to be very much a webinar. It's not going to be kind of interactive breakout sessions because again we're very limited on time, but please use this opportunity to introduce yourself to the other participants, and please do check the chat out. And if a business does particularly fancy, please by all means get the website link and engage with them. So like I said, the first thing I want to talk about today is going to be content marketing. And content, like I said, is so critical. It's critical for many reasons, not simply because it is what your clients are going to be and your customers are going to be engaging with. So, you know, good quality content is going to be something that that draws them in and sells your brand to them and builds trust. And we'll talk all about these as we go through. But also the platforms themselves are really focusing on quality content. So, for instance, Google, as part of its algorithm, around about 18 months, 2 years ago, they brought in a thing called EAT, which is part of their algorithm. And EAT stands for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And this is part of the algorithm now, where they're actually analyzing your website to make sure your content ticks those 3 boxes, that it is expert, that it is authoritative, and that it is trustworthy. Because obviously there was a rise, sadly, over the last few years of things like fake news, alternate facts. And the internet is a place where people do, unfortunately, for good or for ill, take things very much at face value, rather than actually doing proper research. So Google is very dedicated to making sure its content is absolutely, as far as possible, accurate and expert. So they are analyzing your content. Also, 40% of your search engine optimization is your content, because Google reads the page and reads the words that you've written, and that's what helps them decide what the page is about. And I believe there is there is an SEO course on the website. It's on the YouTube channel, isn't there, Helen? I think I did one for you before. So do check that one out. It is on there. But content is everything as far as SEO is concerned. Yes, your website needs to be technically good. Yes, your pages need to load fast. Yes, you need to have kind of the SSL certificate that'll lock symbol on it to increase trust. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how fast your website loads. It doesn't matter how colorful it is. It doesn't matter how secure it is. If your content is rubbish, no one's going to care. So Google focuses on content, and now Facebook very much and other social networks are trying to find ways to measure the quality of content. Facebook in particular only shows 1.2% of the posts you put on your Facebook page to the people who even like your page. They really do restrict how much people can see. So do bear this in mind, is the fact that actually quality content is what we should be striving for. It's much, much better to be putting good quality content out than average to poor quality content out, 3 times a day. I prefer 2 or 3 really good quality posts a week, which is what's going to help the algorithm, whether it's Google or whether it's Facebook, like what you're doing, show it to more people potentially, but also something that's more engaging for your customers. So when they see your post, they go, do you know what? That's for me. I understand that. I get that. That's adding value to my day. Lovely people putting their stuff in the chat. Please keep that coming. So content is something that is very, very much the focus. And as we'll discover in the second part of the session today, video content in particular is what all of the platforms are looking at, whether that is your website and whether that is your social networks. Video is absolutely imperative in terms of the types of content and the types of reach you're going to get. Also, it's your customer's favorite type of content as well. So what I want to start with is I'm going to open up the chat for a minute. We'll do a little bit of a Q&A. In your idea, in your view, what makes good content? So when you're on a website, when you're on, looking at a social network, what engages with you? What makes you go, oh, that was cool? So fastest fingers first. Let's see who's got best typing skills in the room. Have a look at the chat. I'll pop that out as well, because it's going to be much easier for me to look at. Pop out. I do love all this stuff. Short. So we got from Janet, short form content, stuff that we can, bite-sized stuff that we can digest very, very quickly. There's some very interesting stats, actually, that I'll share with you later on around video content in particular. Short, snappy, and concise. I do particularly like the concise. Get to the point, stick to the point, shut up. I want to talk about this. I've talked about it. This is what I want you to do. People don't have time. I mean, concise could be 10 minutes long. If you can be concise and add value for a full 10 minutes, then people will probably engage for 10 minutes. But absolutely, that sense of don't sacrifice clarity for cleverness is really important. We want our stuff to be really, really clear and easy for people to understand and act upon. Any others? Any types of content? Any big readers and bloggers here? Actual people using the product or service gives it more credibility. Yeah, brilliant, Ruth. That is a great one, actually, and where video can be really, really helpful. You get video testimonials from your customers. Just saying. Relevant to the audience, we'll talk very much about relevance, Janet. That is one of the keys. And we're going to talk about differentiation, which is one of the key things as marketeers or even as small businesses who are trying to reach people, is understanding who your customer groups are is critical in terms of creating engaging and impactful content for them. Again, just as I say the word engaging, almost as if she read my mind, Elaine has put engaging in there. Yeah, we want people to go, oh, that was useful, that was helpful, that was great. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. All excellent answers. So let me go back to my my screen. So yeah, good content is something that is useful. So when someone sees it, they can do something with it, whether that's just smiling, raising a smile and a laugh, or whether it's them going, oh, right, I've learned something from that. That's really helpful. Anything that demonstrates your product or your service's value. Value is a really important thing that we'll talk about in a moment. But, what is it that the customer is getting from it? Now, one of the mistakes a lot of people make with social media, with content in general, is they talk about themselves way too much. And no offense to you, but your customers simply don't care. They don't care who you are until you've proved your value to them. And then we can build customer loyalty, and then we can get kind of advocates and all those kinds of things. But if they're looking for a new product and you're just there going, hello, I'm awesome, they're going to go, I don't care. You haven't proved it. I don't trust you. I'm going to scroll straight past you. So it's something that they are going to value as an individual. Value proposition is really important. Something that might make their life easier, how-tos, demonstrations, those kinds of things are really important. And what we want is something that is shareable as well. So something that that person go, do you know what? That is so good. I want to share it with my friend because I think my friend would find it useful. And that spreads the word to more people. And also that becomes a recommendation rather than an advert. And then we'll kind of touch on this a little bit later anyway. And social media in particular, it's not about sales. Yes, we do want to sell our product, but marketing is about getting people interested enough in what you do to say 3 words. And those 3 words are tell me more. That's the purpose of marketing. We get them interested. We get, them going, do you know what? That really speaks to me. That is something I'll find useful or engaging or cool or whatever it might be. I want to find out more about that, which is when they contact you, and then we can start the sales process. The purpose of marketing is to raise awareness of your product to the point where someone wants to take action. When they take that action, the sales process can start. There are no sales without marketing. I remember once doing a course in Stevenage Town Centre when I was with Winter many, many years ago. And I was asked to do a session on sales and marketing, because it's always that way around, isn't it? Sales and marketing. We always say sales and marketing. That's the wrong way around. It's actually marketing and sales, because no sales without marketing. And sales, much as a lot of sales people will hate me for saying this, sales is part of the marketing process. It happens about 2/3 of the way through. We sell something, then the rest of the marketing process is getting that person to buy more stuff or tell other people how awesome we are. But the whole purpose of this is to get people to engage with us to the point, or trust us to the point where they want to take that next step. Click on a link, pick up the phone, come into a store, whatever it might be. And that's one of the mistakes we often make. We forget that it is a social network. Social. And too many people forget that we're trying to build connections. We're trying to engage with people. And when we're on Facebook, when we're on Instagram, we're in amongst photographs of people's favorite celebrities, their friends, their holidays, their pets. We need to kind of make ourselves an organic part of that. And if all we ever do is go buy my stuff, people are going to go, I don't care, and scroll past, and they won't want it. Only 30% of people will got Matt in the waiting room. Only 30% of people trust an advert. 70% of us cynically will go, of course you're going to say you're awesome, you want my money, and scroll past. And by an advert, I don't just mean something you pay for. Anytime you overtly get out there and say, I'm awesome, here's my product, give me your cash, 70% of people are going to go, no, and scroll past it. But by building trust, what we can do is begin to get that 30% higher and higher, because the more people trust us, or lower and lower, right? No, higher and higher, yeah. The more people trust us, the more likely we are to go, oh, actually, when we put something more kind of advertising out there, they're more likely to go, oh, do you know what? For the last couple of weeks, couple of months, this organization has put some really good content in front of me that I've enjoyed, that I found useful, that I found helpful. I've built an element of connection and trust with them. Therefore, now they're being a little bit more overtly salesy. I'm more comfortable because they've earned the right to sell to me, because now I trust them. And they're either going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to engage with the advert themselves or be more comfortable hitting the share button. And then that share button becomes a recommendation. 74% of people trust recommendations from strangers. 92% of people trust recommendations from friends. So if I share something on Facebook and it goes out to my friends, there is a high level of trust in that content, because someone they like, they know, they engage with, has shared it, rather than a company where the cynical majority are going to go, of course you want me to engage with you, you want my cash. If I've hit that share button, it is no longer a sales pitch, it is a recommendation from someone they trust. So again, we want that shareable content. We want to be adding value to people's days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, say, very high level, because I normally do content marketing for an entire day. So you are getting very much the potted version here. We're going to go through my 5 pillars of great content. If you've attended courses with me previously, you're probably going to be familiar with it, but because I think I mention it on every single course I do, but it is definitely worth thinking about. I'm not going to do the pop quiz today, though, so I'm just going to share my slides. Share. Sorry, I've got my screen. I haven't done an online course for ages. It's quite nice, actually, to sit at my dining room table, look outside into the garden where it's all sunny, and chat to you guys, and be really close to the fridge, which was my downfall during lockdown. Way too close to the fridge all the time. Right, lovely. Okay, so this is my, let's move those out of the way because that's obscuring the screen. These are my 5 pillars of great content. Okay. The first are inform, educate, entertain. Our content, the stuff we put out there, should be informative, educational, or entertaining. So informative, news, updates, statistics, infographics, those kinds of things that are really useful. Educate, learning something new, telling something about something. If you are someone who is, a nutritionist, for instance, well, educate people on why nutrition is important, the statistics, evidence, whatever it might be, or if you are a trainer or a coach, what is coaching? What does mentoring mean? What is it about? So people understand what they're letting themselves in for. The entertaining stuff, that's stuff that doesn't necessarily fit into the other boxes. It doesn't have to be funny. It could be introductions to members of your team. That could be behind the scenes stuff. So your exhibition, and you do some nice behind the scenes things which shows what's going on. But it's stuff that doesn't fit into the other 2 brackets. But when we're putting content out there to engage with our audience, is it informative? So does it give them something? Is it educational? Do they learn something? Is it entertaining? Do they take something else away from it? Does it raise a smile? Does it ask a question? Does it give a little bit more insight into the inner workings of the organization? So those are the things that we need to be thinking about. However, as was quite rightly put into the chat by, I think it was Janet, which was relevance. Relevance, there we go. Yeah, Janet. Relevance is everything. And we are going to talk about differentiation in a moment, which is a critical part of your kind of marketing process. It has to be relevant to the group of people you're targeting it to. Generic content simply doesn't work. If you put, this is all of the things that I do, and you've got a list of the 10 different things that you do, and the one I'm interested in is number 10, I'm probably only get to number 3 on the list before I go, bored now, nothing to do with me, and move on. So what we want is to create specific content that speaks to particular groups of people. If I'm interested in, number 10, then just show me number 10. Don't show me all of the things that you do. Show me the things that are relevant to me. And, if you've got 10 different products, you might want to alternate them and, have each of those 10 different products featured in different days of the week on your social networks, wherever it might be. Because then when someone scrolls past, if I'm scrolling through and I see 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to scroll straight past it. That's fine. But let's say that Helen is really interested in number 3. She'll see that one and go, do you know what? That speaks to me. But a couple of days later, when you put something about product number 10 that I care about, yeah, Helen will ignore it, but it doesn't matter. You got her 2 days ago. I will see number 10 and go, brilliant, that's just for me. Because it is better to reach a small number of people who care than a large number of people who don't. When we're looking at our analytics on our social networks, reach is great. Reach are the number of people who saw it. But to see it, all it has to do is flash in front of your eyes. If someone is scrolling through their Instagram account at 100 miles an hour and your post goes, that's reach. We've reached someone, they've seen it. And we reach 1 million people, but only 1 person engages, whereas we reach 1,000 people and 100 people engage. Which of those posts was the better post? The obsession we have with the number of people who see it is actually not a particularly good way to look at the success of a post or on your campaign. Same with your website, impressions, the number of times you appear in searches. So you're on a particular key term, whatever search term it is, we had 1 million impressions. Well, those million impressions could be on page 409 of Google, in which case, so what? No one's looking. What we want is who's clicked, and those impressions, how many people have actually gone to the website and have actually taken action. And the way we do that is making sure it's relevant to people. And so we'll explore that again over the next couple of slides. And finally, value. I've mentioned this already, but people don't buy products anymore or services anymore. They buy the value that that product brings to them. And people value different things for different reasons. One of my earliest clients when I became a business advisor back in 2010 sold watches. I'm going to stop sharing that for a moment. He sold watches, and he sold watches that the cheapest of which was £300,000. And his most expensive watch was £1.5 million. Now, that very nice watches, Philippe Patek watches, very gorgeous, very lovely, very, worth £1.5 million. Anybody in the room right now going to buy a watch for £1.5 million? Yeah, none of it. It would be nice. It would be nice to be able to afford £1.5 million watch, but Yeah. In fact, just by a via of a straw poll, how many people on the room today are wearing a watch? I ain't, because I've got this little fella. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen right now, if you're on a laptop or a Mac, is the time. The microwave has the time on it. The television has the time on it. The cooker has the time on it. We are surrounded by time. In fact, the next time you see someone wearing a watch, look at their watch. As soon as they look away, ask them what the time is. They will not be able to tell you. So we had it's actually, there's a comment here. As you could be a bad sign if you get a lot of impressions and not a lot of engagements. That means there's no problem with visibility of your content. Absolutely, yeah. If you've been seen by tons of people and no one's engaging, your content's probably not very good, or certainly not targeted properly. But why do people value? Why do people buy watches for £1.5 million? And they can go to Tesco and pick one up for 10 quid that's going to work perfectly for many years. And these things are things such as status. They're things like investment. You buy a watch £1.5 million. In 20 years, it might be worth £7 million. Now, it's all of these kinds of things. People value different things. For me, if I did buy a watch, yeah, exclusivity from Janet there, absolutely. The only time I've worn a watch in the last 10 years was when I was working in a prison. I did 7 weeks in a prison doing business startup training. And the reason I wore a watch for those 7 weeks is because I'm not allowed to take that in. My mobile phone, my laptop, anything, none of that had to be locked away because you're not allowed any electronic equipment in a prison. And it was practical for me to do it. The watch I was wearing was one that was gifted to me as a present when I left a company. It didn't cost me anything. And, it was just there. And as soon as I got out of the prison, it came off because I don't like jewelry. I don't like things dangling around me anyway. So we have to figure out the value, and that value might be different for different people. We've got the same product, but people want it for different reasons, which is what we're going to explore in a moment. But if our content is informative, educational, entertaining, one of those things, all three of you can do it, but it's got to be at least one of those things. It's relevant to the people we're targeting at, and it adds some kind of value to their day. What we get is that we build kind of three behaviors, excuse me, three behaviors in our clients: authority, credibility, and trust. Very similar to the EAT from Google, actually, but Google came up with this 2 years ago. I've been training this out for 7 years. So Google copied me, not the other way around, just so you're aware. But authority, we become the expert, the go-to person. We know what we're talking about, and we regularly prove that. We are credible because on a regular basis, we provide good quality content that helps people out that they find valuable and relevant, which builds trust, and trust gets us sales. And not only does trust get us sales, it'll get us shares, it'll get us likes, it'll get us comments on our social networks, which is a way of getting the algorithm, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, interactions, comments, etc., is what gets the algorithm to show our content to more people. So that's what we want to be doing. And then that share button, like I said, is so important. So when we're creating our content, think about those 5 pillars. Is it informative? Is it educational? Is it entertaining? Which, by the way, is the mantra of the BBC, which is where that has been lifted from. Yeah. It's been co-opted by marketeers for many years now. They quite often add inspire to the mix as well. So inform, educate, entertain, or inspire. It's relevant to the people who try to target, and it adds some kind of value, and we get that trust. And that's what we're always trying to build on our content marketing. It's always about getting people to go, do you know what? When they see our content, they go, oh, brilliant. That's great. That's going to be helpful. That's going to be useful. I like them. I trust them. One of my earliest, when I started training social media back at the beginning of 2012, my mentor, which knows the Helen will know the fabulous Mick Dobson from Wenter, who was helping with those things. Some of you might be familiar with Mick. I don't know. Gave me a little kind of saying, which I think is as true now as it was, 11 years ago. Social media is about becoming a trusted and knowledgeable friend. And that's what we're trying to do. We want people to like us. We want people to trust us. We want people to see that we know what we're talking about. So when we're creating content, we should be demonstrating as much as possible that we know what they need. It's not that I need your money, please pay me, because people go, no. It's like, here's something that is actually demonstrating to you, firstly, I know what I'm talking about. And secondly, there's something you can use, something that's helpful, something that's valuable to you. So that's what we think about. And then what we do is we earn the rights to put out more sales focused content, because we still want to be doing adverts, whether they are paid or otherwise, because we got a product that we want people to buy or a service we want people to buy. But they will only buy into us, or certainly the cynical majority of people will only buy into us if we've proven to them that we're any good. And what I would highly recommend, there's a TED talk that I recommend, which is from 2010. It's the second most viewed TED talk of all time. It's by the fabulous, marvelous, and my man crush, Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. And the TED talk is how great leaders inspire action. And it is 18 minutes of why people buy stuff. And there's some really, really, I mean, the whole, I saw this back in 2016 and it really did. Yeah, he is great, Janet. Absolutely love the guy. And that really did change my mindset. Watching that video made me go, ooh, okay, that's a different way of thinking about things. And it's been very influential to me since. Helen, you have a hand up.
Can you let Zoe back in, please? She's just
yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Science. I didn't get a little pop-up saying that she was in. Probably because I've got the pop-up up. I'll get rid of that and then I'll get notifications instead. So those things, I'll share the slide for one more time. These slides I will make available to Helen anyway, so she can share them with you. They say this is inform, educate, entertain. The reason I show this slide so much is because it took me ages to find a photograph that's got 5 pillars in it. No idea how long it took. It took me about 2 hours. But it's that authority, credibility, but most importantly, that trust element. And social network is about being sociable. It's about building community. It's about building rapport. It's about getting people to see our content and view it positively, regardless of what that content is, because we've taken the time and effort to demonstrate our value to them. So stop sharing that for a moment. Right. So segmentation is really, really critical. So market segmentation and differentiation means that you might have one product, but there's going to be people interested in that product for vastly different reasons, which I'm going to explore over the next couple of slides. And it is something that is absolutely critical to get right. One thing I would recommend, again, something that Facebook Blueprint. Now, Facebook Blueprint is Facebook's online learning platform. Which is pretty damn good, to be honest with you. It is focused very much on Facebook and Instagram in terms of teaching you how to learn those, but there's some of the preliminary stuff. It's really good at just general profiling of customers. There's some really good downloadable materials there, profile sheets and things like that, and content sheets. I would absolutely recommend looking at it. There's plenty of stuff on there that's free. You can pay for some kind of higher end stuff. But Facebook Blueprint and our dear friends at Google Digital Garage are 2 really, really good places to go for kind of digital marketing training. But Facebook Blueprint has got some really good downloadable collateral around building customer profiles. So I would highly recommend having a look at that and working through some of their content. But where's PowerPoint gone? There we go. So if we create content for everyone, we end up creating content for no one. That is really important, that we, again, that generic stuff. I'm not saying that you never put generic content up, saying look at all the stuff we do, but actually it's never going to get very good engagement because it is too general and it's hard for people to pick out the bits that are important to them. So what we want to do is to have a good idea of our different customer groups, so we can post different types of content to grab their attention. And particularly if we're one-person operations, as many of us are, or small teams that don't have hours to spend. Once we've identified these groups, what we can do to make our lives a little bit easier is to say, well, for today or this week, I'm going to focus on this group. I'm going to create content just for these people for a week. And then next week, I'll try and catch these people. And the week after, I'll try and catch these people. Because that way, we've got a good throughput of content that is engaging and hitting the spots our customers need to hit. But it's not overwhelmingly trying to kind of post content out for 5 different customer groups every day, which is likely to drive you slightly insane. So either pick one for a day or pick one for a week or a couple of days and focus on that to make your lives a little bit easier. But what I would suggest doing one of the exercises that we can do that is very simple is, and I'm just going to share this slide with you. As my share button gone? Say 400 webinars, and I still can't find the stupid share button. So what we got here is creating a content storm. So what this is about is firstly identifying who those groups are. Now, this is very, very high level. You can get deeper into this. And again, one of the things that Ambition Broxbourne has available every month, I do a series of digital marketing surgeries, which are free to attend for people who live in the kind of Broxbourne area, where we can actually have a 45-minute conversation about your business specifically. And the next one is in April the something, somewhere in April. Check out the website. I'll look on the calendar later on and tell you, or Ellen can. And we can talk about this in greater depth anyway. But one of the key things to do is either as a business, or if you've got specific, April 19th, thank you, Helen. Either look in the business in general or pick a specific product or service that you offer. And in this case, event catering. The reason it's event catering is this comes from a pack I developed for the university catering organization that I did some work with a couple of years ago. So if you do event catering, for instance, well, event catering could be weddings. So I do events, but events could be weddings, it could be funerals, it could be corporate events, cultural, religious festivals, private functions, etc. Now, as much as all I'm doing is preparing and delivering food to these places, the way I market them is going to be very, very different. If I'm marketing weddings, for instance, it's all going to be lovely and upbeat, beautiful photographs of flowers and table settings. It's going to be about brides, you know, and grooms looking in love and happy, drinking champagne, eating canapes. And it's all going to be those kinds of things that are going to people to go, oh my God, I need that for my wedding. Oh, amazing. So they come to us rather than anyone else. But if we are also catering for funerals, that's probably not the way to go. In as much as, hey, look, everyone, it's all fabulous and fun. Look, the sun's shining and everyone's happy. Because no, funerals are going to be a little bit more somber. It's going to be about the way it's laid out. It's going to be respectful. It's going to be, you know, empathetic. It's going to be, you know, about celebrating in a different way, whatever we want to do. But again, different content, different way of selling it. But we're still just making food. And again, for all of these things, there's going to be different ways of looking at it. Now, if you're on fitness classes, there are different reasons people would join a fitness class. You know, whether that is to improve general fitness, it could be recovering from injury, it could be mental health issues, it could be to train for a specific event, it could be to socialize with people. You know, there's all these different reasons why someone might come to a fitness class. To lose weight, obviously, is one as well. In which case, again, our one fitness class, if we try to generically say, look at what this fitness class does for everyone, we're likely not to really engage with anyone. Whereas if we put a post up about, you know, the benefits of exercise in terms of, you know, managing depression, mental health issues, you know, anxiety, things like that, that's going to be great for the people thinking, oh gosh, that would be brilliant for me because I'm feeling that, you know, that would help me manage what's going on in my life right now. But similarly, if someone is wanting to socialize, which, you know, it's a great way to socialize, meet new people, then we can focus on, you know, photographs of people happily laughing and cheering whilst doing, you know, burpees, and perhaps people gathering around and having a chat at the end, or, you know, doing some vox pops, actually, you know, getting a camera out and video out and giving at the end of each session going, hey, what do you feel? Oh, I love it. I've met all these fantastic people. It's a wonderful time. I'm having great fun. You know, we get these things which are more likely to be, you know, great for the people who want a more social element to what we do. So once we've identified our key groups, what we can then start doing is figuring out what content is going to be most impactful as far as they're concerned. So the first thing we really need to do is say, either as an organization, so put your organization in the middle and just say, all right, what types of people are going to be interested in my organization? What types of people are either already interested or I think will be interested if I'm kind of marketing to them? And, you know, pop them out. Don't restrict yourself. Just kind of think all of the different types of people that might be interested. Then what we can do is a prioritization exercise, because then we can kind of have a look at them and go, okay, of these groups, which are the ones that have the means and the motivation to buy my stuff? So who has the money and who cares? Because you need those two things. We need people who are prepared to pay the money and who actually want to buy what we have. So, for instance, I have the means to buy shampoo and hair products. I can buy mousses. I can buy things to make my hair all wavy. I can buy all of that stuff. I can afford it. I could go to Tesco right now and I can buy all that stuff because I have the money to be able to do it. However, do I have the motivation? No, because I don't have any hair anyway. So no, there's no point then really in trying to sell your hair products to me because I simply don't care anymore. Because, you know, I go to the barber and just they go and there's none left. I always said the more fell out, the more I'd shave off. It's just not useful to me. But means and motivation. Do they have the money in which, and you know, that depends on the quality. If you've got a high-end product, if you are kind of the John Lewis Waitrose of the, you know, of whichever business you're in, then that's what you charge. And there's going to be people who look at what you charge and they're going to go, can't afford that. Brilliant. They're not your customers. Don't worry. They can go to someone else who is targeting that particular group. Never be afraid of charging what you're worth. Always charge what your customers are prepared to pay. And if your group of customers are prepared to pay a lot of money, charge them a lot of money. But we need to figure that out. You know, what value are we offering? It's very difficult. It's something that I struggled with hugely when I started in self-employment, actually understanding how much and what value I bring, so that when people come to me and say, I'm prepared to give you 50 quid a day, I'm going to go, no, because I'll starve. Rather than just going, all right, money, great, I'll have it. No, because if I commit to 50 quid a day and someone comes and offers me 4 times as much as that, or 5 times or 10 times as much as that, I've made a commitment to someone else, and it's unprofessional then to cancel on that person simply because a better offer has come along, which is my ethics. I would never do that. But if someone comes along and says 50 quid, I'm going to go, sorry, thank you very much. But that's not something I can manage. And I'm prepared to do that. And as I've moved through, actually, that amount of money has gone up and up. So now, you know, I know what my value is. I know what I'm worth. And people who have the means and the motivation to pay me are the people I'm targeting. So really important. We can differentiate that because, again, we put all of these different client groups that might be interested. Then we have to say, firstly, how many of them are there? If there's not very many of them and they're not going to buy very often, perhaps they're a lower priority than one that there's many more of, and they're going to buy on a regular basis. In which case, it makes much more sense to put our marketing efforts into that group. They have the means of motivation, and also there's a lot of them, which means I can get a lot of work. Whereas why am I wasting my time marketing to a group of people that do want what I have, but actually in terms of bringing turnover into the organization, I'm not going to have a significant impact. So if I get 90% of my money from this group of people and 10% of my money from that group of people, put 90% of your marketing efforts into that group and only 10% of your marketing efforts into that group. Because we need that differentiation means that we can then make sensible decisions about what our content is going to look like and who we're going to point that content at. And the next one along, as far as this is concerned, is, here we go, your content hub. So what you do then is you select one of those groups. In this case, we've taken corporate events. And then you can do a similar exercise, and much as, well, if I'm going to be promoting to corporate events, what kind of content do they want to do? What kind of content are they going to be interested in? Now, in the case of a corporate, behind the scenes video to show how we put things together, you know, how efficient, how organized we are, because corporates really care about that. Might be a case study that we put together of, you know, a similar organization that we've managed to cater for and the success that had. Could be catering for diversity, because if you're in a corporate event, there is likely to be a diverse group of people, whether that is to do with dietary requirements. So whether it is, you know, people with certain intolerances, or people who are vegan or vegetarian, or people from different cultural and religious backgrounds that might have restrictions in types of food or preferences in types of food that come out there. And again, we can demonstrate our ability to cater for that to an organization. We can make sure that, you know, if you've got 1,000 people attending your event, there'll be food for every one of those people. They will not feel shortchanged. You won't people going, there's no vegetarian option, you know, those kinds of things. I know vegetarians don't talk like that, but, you know, it's like we get those whingy bits. My son's a vegetarian, my sister's a vegan, and actually finding restaurants with a decent vegetarian and vegan options is really hard. And it makes it very difficult. So when we're looking for restaurants to go out as a family, you know, me and my wife, my son and my daughter, we have to do research, and we are looking for ones with good vegetarian options. It's not fair on Daniel to have a mushroom risotto when we've got tons and tons of other things that we can eat. So what is something that you know, what is it that they care about? What are the things that kind of light them up? What are the things that make them go, do you know what? That's all about me. And that's something in that Simon Sinek video that comes across very strongly. He talks about start with why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The what doesn't really differentiate us very much. The why is important. And I'll give you a quick example. My daughter is off to university in September. She's taken a year out. She's earning some cash before she goes to uni. She's off to uni in September. And when she was researching and looking at universities, the first thing she did when high-level research was to look at the courses, the what. So, you know, this is what I want to do. Let's find the courses, the list of things that this company does or this university does that I like. And she went, right, okay. And she narrowed it down to 5 universities and it was the course. And the courses weren't massively different. So there was nothing making them that different. The what we do, you know, whether we're a trainer, whether we're selling mobile phones, whether we are fitness, the list of things that we do rarely is massively different to other people who sell mobile phones, other people who do training and coaching, other people who do fitness. That doesn't make us different. So my daughter had these 5 universities and she had, right, all of these are doing courses that I'm interested in. And she had 3 criteria when she was looking at the university that she wanted to go to. The first and most important for her was, does it have good SEN, special educational needs support, because she has ADHD. So she was looking for a university that would understand the impact that ADHD has on her education and would give her the proper support around about that. The next part was someone with good LGBTQIA+ support. She's part of that community, and it's one of the things she wants to work in and support when she graduates, to make sure that there is good representation there, and a Quidditch team. Because she is Harry Potter nuts, and she wants to be the golden snitch in a Quidditch team because she's quite small and really fast. So the university she chose ultimately was not chosen on the course. It wasn't just the things that we do, the list of the features. It was the value that she took away from it, and she valued those things. Now, it didn't have a Quidditch team, but it has Dumbledore's army. She's going to Gloucester. But there are a couple of other things which, again, differentiated them. She goes to the Edinburgh Fringe in her 1st and her 3rd year, which she's very excited about, which no other universities offered. And the tutors worked in the community. She's doing a theatre and performance practice degree, and she wants to do theatre in the community for people with mental health issues and from the LGBTQI community, to give them a safe place to kind of express themselves. So they do that a lot at that university. The 2 tutors have been involved in community theatre a lot, which was a big tick in the box. And the final kind of tick in the box was that both of the tutors from the Royal Shakespeare Company, and Hannah has a real passion for Shakespeare. So her choices to go to Gloucester University over Winchester, Bath Spa, I think there was one in Birmingham, I can't remember what the 5th choice was not based on the course. It was based on the value, the personal things that she cared about made her make that choice, not the list of stuff. So that's why differentiating these client bases and trying to understand what they value and really leaning into that is so much more impactful than just going, here's a list of all the stuff I do, crack on. It's not going to have the impact. It's not going to have the desired effect. So, you know, think about that. And it's definitely worth spending time figuring out who your client groups are. And then you can create content that absolutely speaks to them. So when they're scrolling through a busy social media feed, or when they're searching something on the internet, when your information pops up, they immediately go, awesome. That's exactly what I need. Brilliant. So differentiation, absolutely critical. I'm going to stop sharing now. Right, let's get that one up. Okay, so the things we need to do, first of all, focus on what your customers want to hear. So when we're creating content, think about the customer and tell them what they want to hear. Now, honestly, obviously don't make stuff up, but, you know, figure out what it is they care about and tell them. Get to the point, stick to the point, and wrap it up. I mentioned that earlier on the back of one of the comments about what makes good content. I'm here to talk about this. I've talked about it. This is what I want you to do next. Don't be all fluffy. Don't go off on one. Stick to the point. Keep it concise. Keep it short as it needs to be. Short might be 10 minutes. Short might be an hour. But if that hour-long piece of content on YouTube is all the way through engaging, valuable, and helpful, people will stick with it. But stick to the point, get to the point, and then just say, this is what I want you to do next. Never sacrifice clarity for cleverness. It is much better for someone to look at what you do and go, I get that, I understand that, brilliant, than go, oh, lots of pretty pictures, I've no idea what it says, and move on. Here's a little tip. How many of you use Canva for your social media? Canva's amazing. It's great. I love Canva. However, I generally know when a small business who is not a graphic designer or a marketeer has used Canva because it looks like someone's thrown up on it. They've decided to put about 15 million different icons on it. Here's a little tip for any type of thing, whether it's a presentation, whether it is a piece of social media content like a still image. The human brain can count 6 things without having to count them. So if I picked up 6 pebbles and threw them on the desk in front of you, your brain could look at them and just go 6. Anything from 6 and below does not require any mental effort to count. Anything above 6 requires people to start putting effort in. So if I threw 9 pebbles on the table in front of you, very few people will be able to just look at that and go 9. What they need to do is to go 3, 6, 9, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which requires time, energy, and mental effort. So the more stuff you put on your images on Instagram, on Facebook, on wherever it might be, the less chance you've got of actually grabbing people's attention. Because if you've got more than 6 items, so that's your logo, the background image, your text, whatever else, more than 6 things on there, people go, nah, can't be bothered, too busy, move on. There are 4 things that grab people's attention. So again, to bear in mind when you're creating content, first, signaling colors. So signaling colors, reds, greens, blues, oranges, yellows, those kinds of things. If you can work those in, they're great because they mean something and they impact, they grab attention. We're hot wired to do that. The second one is contrast. So things that contrast. Here's a tip. Don't put dark text on a light background. Because number 3 is size. If you have a white background, let me show you, actually, I've got this slide here. It's not perfect, but I'm going to share it with you. I'm actually in the process of redesigning all of my slides at the moment. So this slide here that's sharing at the moment, let's go back to a more traditional slide. Here's what you shouldn't do, by the way. So we've got signaling colors, we've got contrast, we've got size. Those are the first 3 of the 4 things that grab attention. What is the biggest thing on that screen? What is the biggest thing that's going to grab people's attention? The white, yes. The biggest thing on that screen is the white background. And if we have a white background, whether it's a PowerPoint presentation, whether it is a piece of collateral that we put onto Instagram, that white background is going to draw people's attention because it's the biggest thing. And white or light is a very dominating color, although white isn't strictly speaking a color. If you have a dark background with lighter text, bearing in mind there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 images on there, just saying, well, 6 if you count this bit on the side. With a dark background and light text, the biggest thing on the screen now is the text because it's white. I don't even put the heading, so I'm going through 50-odd presentations at the moment and slowly changing them. But I've even got the title of that slide smaller and in green because the idea is that the first thing you see is the text. So if you have a look at Instagram posts and scroll through Instagram, one of the good examples of this, actually, and sorry to mention a rival, but I'm sure you're all familiar with Wenta. Have a look at Wenta's Instagram. All of their content now, all of their images are dark backgrounds, light text. Even when there's a photograph, they actually darken the photograph and put white text on that. And they also put a shadow around the white text, so it's on a kind of a black background, so it stands out even if it's on a slightly busier photograph. They use minimal content. So there's generally only 2 or 3 things. There's their logo, there's the background, and there's the text, or the photograph, their logo, and the text. And as a result, when you scroll past it, it's immediately impactful. Whereas if you're scrolling through and seeing things with, white things with white backgrounds with lots of text on it, which is a sin anyway, we're less likely to engage with it. And so that's a good example of minimalist but impactful content. So no more than 6 things per slide. And if it works for you, again, if your branding doesn't allow it, that's fine. But try to keep darker backgrounds and lighter text, because it does make a difference to how people engage with it. And that will tick, at least 2 of those boxes in terms of contrast and size. The last one is movement. If it moves, people notice it, which is where we'll come into video in a moment, because again, video certainly can tick 3 of those boxes immediately with contrast, because it contrasts to other types of content. It is big because the way it's presented on social networks, and it is moving. So signaling colors, contrast, size, and movement are the things that grab people's attention. So when you're putting that together, whatever you want to grab someone's attention, make sure it's the biggest thing on the screen. If you can make it move, and where possible, have it highly contrasting. And one of the best ways to do that is to have dark backgrounds and light text. But don't overdo it. Don't over Canva. Canva's awesome. I do love Canva. But the number of times I know when someone's got a little bit too excited on Canva, and it does look like they've vomited on it, and it's just been to scroll past it, we go, and it's off. Keep it simple. It's like KISS. I'm sure you're familiar with KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. It's my favorite acronym. Simplicity is beautiful, fabulous, but it's actually quite complicated to achieve, whereas complexity is dead simple. So keep it simple. Talk about one thing at a time, because that does help with SEO as well, but that's an entirely different course. Let me have a look at my slides, because I think we're nearly towards the end of our first session. We are, yeah. So before publishing any of your content as well, ask yourself, and then what? So when we're creating content, it's what I call posting with purpose. When we're posting content, there are kind of 2 purposes to your content. The first, and in my view, the most important, is the purpose in terms of what the customer's getting out of it. What value are they getting out of it? What are they going to look at and go, that speaks to me, that's helpful, that's useful, that's informative, education, entertaining. Come back to yours in a minute, Helen. I can see that. No, don't worry, I've seen the comment. So that is great. Think about, posting with a purpose. But the second purpose is what you want to do, what you want them to do with it. So once they've seen it, do you want them to click on a link, pick up the phone, share it to other people? A legitimate purpose for a post is to get shares, or likes, comments, and shares from an algorithmic perspective. But have that, and then use your analytics to measure the success of both the purpose in terms of its engagement with the customers, and then did people click on the link? Did people share it? Did people download the PDF, which you can all measure? And also where you can connect themes. If you've got 7 or 8 different things you want to talk about, that's 7 or 8 different pieces of content. Don't put 7 or 8 different things in one place. Use it for, for a couple of posts a day, or a post every day for a week, that are connected, that people can then look forward to, then people can digest. So do you think our posters' images are too much? There's a great question, Helen. Let me have a look at them when we have our little break in a moment, and then I'll come back with a definitive answer. I did like the poster for this particular event, but there are some that aren't. Went as a good example of how to do it. No offense to the Hertfordshire Growth Hub, but they're advertising for their recent events. Their poster was an unholy mess. I didn't see it until the other day when I was on the course and went, oh, here's an example of how not to do it. So I'll have a look and give an honest piece of feedback when we finish. But I'm going to share a last slide with you before we have our break, and talk about then video for the next session. Last slide to share. And this is just a little top tips. Differentiate that audience, absolutely critical that we know who our audience is and what they care about, so we can deliver content that is useful to them. Next is to use the platforms they're using. So there's no point in trying to reach me on TikTok or Instagram. I have a professional interest in them as a social media trainer, but a personal interest, I don't at all. I really, really, really don't care. If I shared that, I haven't. There you go. It's sharing. Add links where possible to drive people to your content, but just bear in mind that Facebook these days will deprioritize posts that have links in them. So limit the amount of posts you have on Facebook with an external link, sadly, because they don't like people leaving their platform and will penalize you for it. Sorry, that's Facebook. Plan time for content. Put time aside to create content. Actually invest in that. Marketing is such an important part of what you do. If no one knows you exist, how on earth can they pay you? So actually put time aside in the week, whether it's an hour or a couple of hours throughout the week, to think about and create content. It will pay off in the long run, I guarantee you. Use your analytics, understand how things are performing. So the stuff that does well, you can do again. The stuff that isn't doing so well, you can either improve or get rid of. And create content on purpose. Don't go, oh, I haven't posted for a week. No, if you're going to post, understand why you're posting and what you want to get out of that post. So I am going to give us a bit of a 5-minute break. So it is 11:05 right now. We'll be back at 11:10. I'll switch my camera and my mic off, and I'll switch them back on again when it's time to come back. Do stand up, do move around, do touch your toes, do star jumps, stroke a pet, whatever you need to do, because sitting looking at a screen for an hour at a time is not good for you. But we'll be back in 5 minutes, and then we'll crack on with the video content. See you in a bit. Okie dokie. Are we back, everyone? So give us a hands up or something. Here's a really cool thing you can do, actually. Thanks, Helen. Whether it's a physical or a virtual hands up, in your in the reactions tab, there is actually an opportunity to turn on recognize hand gestures. So if I do this, hopefully it's not doing it right now. Oh, poop. But do this. Here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's now awesome. I'm going to lower my hand now. Yeah, recognize the hand gestures. It's really cool. It takes ages though, so you may as well just go to the reactions tab and select the, you know, because it takes about 5 minutes to recognize it. But anyway, that's really cool. Okay, so I'm assuming we're all back and ready to go. So yeah, I've gone back and had a look at some of the comments, and yeah, I noticed that Janet is a sales trainer, and I was talking about sales being part of marketing. Sorry, but yes, thankfully you agree with me, so that's good. As the sales trainer, no, it's a function of marketing. Sorry, but it is absolutely. But obviously, once you've got someone's attention, the ability to sell to them is also really important. And it's amazing how many people fail in converting interest into money. I must say it's not something I'm always very good at. Yeah, anyway, awesome. So I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to share the screen on the back of what Helen said, brave soul that she is, to look at the poster. So this is the poster for today's event. And there's things I like and things I don't. The thing that strikes me immediately is it's the wrong shape for Instagram. So if you have got something like Canva going on, for instance, there are templates for Instagram. This is a horizontal format, which is great for Twitter, and it's great for LinkedIn because they like the vertical horizontal format. Instagram is now 1 by 1. So what I would have done is to take that and had it so we don't have the black bars at the top and the bottom, because then it's smaller, and again the biggest things grab attention, and the biggest thing actually on that slide is that potentially the black backgrounds that we're going to scroll past. Also, I like, again, have a little look at it, dark background, light text, awesome. You know, we've got the white text, which is really standing out, and the biggest thing we've got is the title. So someone scrolling through, at least their eyes are going to be drawn to content marketing and why video is vital. Brilliant. The thing I would remove for Instagram purposes is this. We don't really need the itinerary and the what the course is about. I think content marketing, why video is vital, is relatively self-explanatory. In terms of how disposable Instagram is, that might work again on something like LinkedIn, potentially even Twitter, because again, it's going to fit better in terms of the screen collateral. But that's what I would move. So firstly, I'd have it the right size for that platform. So 1 by 1, which generally is the best, or 9 by 16, which is vertical format. And I would have got rid of this because it's just a little bit too much information. And then if you get rid of this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, essentially things on the screen, which are going to make it so much easier to engage with. So that's what I would do. But I like it mainly because the important information, such as the name of the content and when it is, are the things that our eyes are going to track to. The biggest thing being the title, the second biggest thing being the date. Awesome. You know, that is working really well. But if you're going to go on Instagram, your images need to be 1 by 1 or, let's say, vertical format. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for people to see. They're just going to scroll past because everything is now smaller. Whereas if you've done it that size. So those are my thoughts for you. Okay, awesome. Okay, let us stop sharing. I always do like seeing my name on posters. That looks really cool. My ego quite likes it. 3 new messages. Can we get another picture at the end? Small people are here. Oh, that's from Helen. Okay, yeah, can do, no problem. Great. Okay. Video. I bang on about video a lot. I think video is, without a doubt, I say, the most critical type of content you could be using at the moment. And over the next 45 minutes, we're going to go through the reasons why, types of content or types of equipment you might want to use to kind of get yourself going, considering that we've got lots of small businesses that can't probably afford a £4,000 DLSR camera. but probably have one of these, I'd imagine. And also very briefly about monetization, which should not be your goal as far as your video is concerned, because if your intention is to make tons of money out of video on the internet, you're probably going to be insanely disappointed. It's just not that easy anymore. It used to be easy to make money on things like YouTube, and it isn't. And Facebook's monetization is absolutely horrific. You're not going to make any money on Facebook unless you have a ridiculous amount of people following you and looking at your stuff. But video is absolutely critical because one of the principal reasons is that it is the focus of every single social network. Every single social network is prioritizing video content over any other type of content right now. Facebook in particular. About 5 years ago, Facebook was intent on becoming the next YouTube. It was intent on beating YouTube to become the biggest deliverer of video content on the planet. Probably the only platform that had any chance of doing it. Even LinkedIn. Yeah, I've got some fantastic stats for LinkedIn, Janet, coming up. I can prove all of this with up-to-date, hot off the press 2022 statistics. It's great. I did all of my research and updated all my stats last week because all the credible sources were beginning to publish 2022 stats. But yeah, absolutely LinkedIn in particular. All social networks are focused on that right now. And there's a number of reasons for it. And one of those reasons is because it's really engaging content that people enjoy. People like watching video. It stands out in the crowd. So when you're scrolling through a busy feed, video, particularly native video, which I'm going to qualify in a moment, is absolutely there and absolutely present. More people engage with video, and video isn't just for millennials and Gen Z that everyone seems to think about it. Video has been around forever. My mum's 85. In 1944, she was at the local cinema watching Pathé News to catch up on what was going on in the Second World War. You know, then in the 1960s, this thing called television arrived. In the 70s, television became the big thing. You know, everyone's got a television. In fact, most people got more than one television in their house. Then we got desktop laptops, and with a 52K download, 52 megabit kind of dial-up internet connection, we'd spend 4 hours waiting for a 3-second clip to download onto our computers. And then got laptops, then we got mobile phones, and now video is everywhere. We can't escape it. In fact, one of the statistics, and this is a statistic that's been hanging around for about 5 years and came true. For the last couple of years, last 4 or 5 years, the prediction has been by the end of 2022, 82% of all internet content will be video. And at the end of 2022, 82% of all video content or online content is video. And that is YouTube, and it's Facebook, and it's TikTok, and it's Instagram, and it's Disney Plus, and it's Paramount, and it's, you know, all of those kind of streaming services. But 82% of all stuff being uploaded to the internet at the moment is video in some way, shape, or form, because it engages with everyone, because it's stuff that is ubiquitous. You know, it's been around for years. And again, my mum at 85, she watches the BBC iPlayer. She has no idea she's watching video on demand. No, but she's watching it. She's clicking on it on a smart television that I set up for her, and you know, it's set up for her, and it's all there. So video is something that we engage with. We're a very visual beast anyway, human beings. So moving images and video is something that appeals to us kind of in a sensorial way as well. So it's really good. People engage with video. Also, it's very good for the SEO of your website, which we'll kind of touch upon as we go through some of the statistics as well. And here is probably one of my favorite statistics. And again, one I check the veracity of. I'm someone who makes sure that my statistics come from not one, but at least 3 credible sources. Those credible sources being things like HubSpot, Chartered Institute Marketing, Chartered Content Marketing Institute, Hootsuite, those kinds of things that, you know, are invested in this. I'm going to share this slide with you now because this is amazing. And this is why video is so, so powerful. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video, compared to only 10% when they read it in text. So if we have a message we want people to take away, pop it in a video, because people read 20% slower on a screen than they do on a piece of paper. So anytime someone on the internet sees a big old block of text, right in the back of their brain, they're going, oh, flipping heck, that's going to take effort. And they will actually back away from it. That's why layout of your websites and kind of short paragraphs with good white space between them. So, headline paragraph or subtitle paragraph, no more than 200 words per paragraph, is going to be much easier for people to take in. Big old blocks of text don't work. 20% slower reading on the internet. Watching a video, they're going to remember 95% of what you're telling them. That is incredibly powerful, which is why we want to be engaging with it, even outside the way that social networks in particular are pushing video and the responses we're getting. So I'm going to prove that with some stats in a little while as well. So what can we do? Well, basically, as far as video is concerned, anything we can write, we can create a video on. You've done a top tips, 5 top tips. You've listed it. It's on a blog. It's on an article. It's on an infographic. Well, you can always do a video of it and have someone talk about what those 5 top tips are. It could be a product demonstration, a case study, a video case study could be brilliant. Your FAQs. I mean, how many of you on your website have got an FAQ section? Frequently asked questions. And how many of those FAQ sections are buried right somewhere in the dusty depths of your website? And it's gold, that content. If you've got an FAQ section, use that for your social media content, because these are frequently asked questions. And if they're being asked frequently, it's probably because people want to know the answers. So rather than waiting for someone to ask, why not publish it in a video, in an image, whatever it might be? This is one of the questions people ask about us all the time. Here's the answer. And people are going to go, oh, I thought that, awesome. Rather than having to go, oh, I've got to find the FAQ section on the website or, contact you, you're giving them that information. It's informative, it's the inform and educate of the inform, educate, entertain element of what we're trying to do here. No, you could do a vlog. Now, one of the courses I've done for Ambition Broxbourne in the past is vlogging, blogging, and podcasts, which are all incredibly important as far as your online presence is concerned. And the great thing is blogging's brilliant. Blog. Websites that blog do much better for search engine optimization. And once you've written a blog, what you can do is you can do a vlog of the blog. And then what you can do is you can put the vlog on the blog. I just like saying that, to be honest with you. But that video content has a massive impact. Firstly, if someone's on the blog and they see it's 2,000 words and they go, oh, flipping, I can't be bothered to read that. You go, oh, by the way, here's a little video for you to watch that either summarizes it or, tells people the whole thing. And people are much more likely to do that and potentially crack on with some work while listening to it. What's the biggest site for hosting podcasts in the world? Anybody want to have a little go? Podcast that we just listened to. What's the biggest hosting site for podcasts in the world? See what we've got. Anybody? YouTube. Yes, YouTube is the biggest host of podcasts in the world, bigger than Spotify, bigger than iTunes, bigger than Anchor, all of those kinds of things. YouTube. That means that if we create a vlog, we've got people talking about a product. It's a great piece of content for your website. It's a great piece of content for YouTube. Also, it can be chopped up into little bits and fed into your social networks as video content anyway. If you've got a 10-minute long video on YouTube, people are prepared to spend 10 minutes listening or watching something on YouTube, maybe longer. They're not on social networks. So take your 10-minute video, chop it up into 5 2-minute slots and feed it into your social networks. But YouTube is amazing for that. And YouTube is amazing for your websites, not for your social media, by the way, which I will show you in a moment. Do not put YouTube or your YouTube posts on your social networks, because every social network hates YouTube and will make it look as naff as they possibly can. Native video is when you take the video the video file, the MP4, whatever it is, and you upload it directly to the social network, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever it might be. That's what you want to be doing with your video content. No one likes a YouTube link on their social platform anymore, particularly Twitter, and I'll show you that in action in a moment. So video content, absolutely brilliant, and we can do so many things. Anything we can do, behind the scenes stuff, time lapse of doing things, introductions to members of the team, anything you like. You can even get a load of lovely images and put them together, and rather than have on Instagram, the little gallery that people can slide through. Actually, very few people actually click on the other images. They generally only look at the first one. So take all those beautiful images of your fabulous business, And rather than putting up as 10 photographs on Instagram, put them into a short video, add some music to it. And, you know, you can get music from Facebook's got its own actually licensed music, as YouTube has. Or, you know, you can get some music from don't use copywritten music, go to a place and get some music that is, you know, not copywritten. And then we got a video that showcases all your fantastic work from the photographs that you've done. It's still a video. The platform, you know, Facebook, Instagram will treat it as a video and push it, and people will like it because it's moving. So anything we put onto a video. So do see how you can work that in. I'm not saying that every single thing that you do has to be on a video. You know, infographics are brilliant. I love an infographic, and still photographs and stuff like that are great. It's just that in terms of impact, video is going to give you the greatest reach. But you do want to kind of share that with other types of content as well. But as I say, you want to have YouTube in as your kind of one of your principal types of content. So here's some stats, some proof. LinkedIn, this is for Janet, LinkedIn users spend 3 times more time watching video than all static content combined. And LinkedIn videos are shared 20 times more than all static content combined. You've got up to 15 minutes, I think, of video on LinkedIn. I probably would never go more than 3 to 5 on LinkedIn, to be honest with you. Twitter, as much as I don't actually train Twitter anymore, because right now it's in a bit of a limbo and I'm not sure of its relevance anymore, but tweets with video get 10 times more engagement and they're 6 times more likely to be retweeted, 6 times more likely to be shared. And 90% of people say that video is helpful in their decision-making processes. Sometimes some way through the marketing and the sales funnel, having a video, particularly on the landing page of a website, once they get to the website, is going to really help conversion. I've got some extraordinary stats. Well, one extraordinary stat around about how video can help sales conversion in a moment. Again, one that's been around for a while from multiple sources. I'm going to share, I've got sort of say hot off the press stuff here. I'm going to share these with you so you can see them, and they're also up on the screen for the recording rather than me just talking about them. So Facebook, 50% of people watch all of a business video if it's less than 60 seconds. So on Facebook, try to keep your videos less than 60 seconds, because the more people watch time is a key part of the algorithm judging how good the video is. The more of it people watch, the more likely it is to be shown to other people, and you get a significant drop off if it's over 60 seconds. So for Facebook, keep it 60 seconds or less. 66% report that short form video is the most engaging type of social media content. So stuff that's under a minute long is considered short form. And again, we've got TikTok and we've got Instagram as well, kind of really leaning into short form video. And 62% report an increase in interest after viewing a related Facebook video. So people seeing a video on Facebook, 62% will have an interest in learning more and, you know, moving forward with that product. So, and Facebook really does push video. It's probably the biggest one as far as video is concerned out of all of the networks. We've got Instagram as well. So Instagram, let me just advance the slide. Come on, you. 91% of users watch videos on Instagram every week. I must say, much as I don't like Instagram personally, I've fallen into Instagram Reels pits. And have been looked at Reels on Instagram for, you know, over an hour sometimes, and I've pulled my way out of the Reels pit, blinking blearily into the daylight to go, what's just happened to that last hour? I've spent the last hour looking at kittens and puppies. But Reels, one of the biggest parts of Instagram. Stories are still the biggest part, but stories with video in them do particularly well. By the way, here's a little tip with stories on Instagram. Each of the little 15-second sections on a story on Instagram is called a tile. No more than 6 tiles. That's not a statistic I've got for this course. It's a statistic I did for the social media course I delivered yesterday. People don't like more than 6 tiles. So 6 of those 15-second sections on stories, so try and keep them fairly brief, but mixing video into that is absolutely brilliant. Instagram videos are around 26 seconds receive the most comments. So again, keep your content nice and short, which is why it's a good idea to understand who you're targeting at and then get to the point, stick to the point, shut the heck up, talk about one thing at a time. I've talked about it, 26 seconds, done. And Instagram Reels reach, Reels reach an accounts with up to 500 followers is a whopping 892%. So that's the number of people it's going to be presented to or see it. whereas the reach of images is only 77%. So you get 10 times greater reach for a reel than you get for an image. Now, this is an interesting one. I would, as much as reels are really important on Instagram at the moment, I've heard some whisperings that Instagram is getting a little bit fed up of being a TikTok carbon copy these days, which is where reels came in because as a response to TikTok, and that they are actually thinking about doubling down into their image content. That's not happening at the moment, but the whispers on the marketing streets is that Instagram might be kind of rebranding back into what they were originally there for, which is instant telegram, instant images. But currently, stories, particularly stories with video in them, and reels are the bits that are getting all of the attention and all of the reach and all of the the interest as far as Instagram is concerned. So those are kind of some of the I say hot off the press. I think I did these stats 2 weeks ago for a presentation I did for the Hearts Growth Hub at one of their events they did, I think on the 10th. So these are absolutely up to date, hot off the press statistics, as are the next couple I'm talking about. So video is the thing that's going to get your customers to stop and look. It is that simple. And ignore it by all means. If you don't think your customers are people who are interested in video, you know your customers better than me. They might be customers who prefer reading, but that's fine. But on balance, video is the thing that is getting reach as far as social networks concerned. And then we're going to talk about YouTube in a moment. But I want to illustrate why we don't use YouTube on our social networks. We upload native video. I'm going to share a screen with you right now. So let's get rid of that one, the share button, and Google. Right. Okay. So what we've got here is my Twitter account. And this is a YouTube video on Twitter. Now, on YouTube, the thumbnail is a rectangle. And what Twitter immediately do with any YouTube links that go onto their platform is that rather than allowing the full thumbnail, they turn it into a 1x1 square, which they don't have to do. They could do it because they always used to do it as a full thumbnail. They've done that because if your title on your thumbnail goes all the way across your rectangle, they've just cut the beginning and end of your title off, so people are going to find it difficult to actually see what the video is about. And also, and to be fair, they took this away for a little while and it's come back over the last few weeks. They put a whopping great blue play button right in the middle, right over the title or where the title is likely to be, to make it as obscure as possible. And I don't know if you can see this or whether it comes across on the screen, but the text here is gray. It's not black. All other text on Twitter is black, but that's gray because it just fades into the background a little bit more because Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of these, it's definitely passive aggressive, isn't it? Yeah. They don't want people clicking on YouTube and leaving their platform to watch content on their biggest rivals platform. Facebook and LinkedIn just show the thumbnail, static rectangular thumbnail, but it doesn't move, it doesn't do anything, it's just there as a static image. Facebook used to do this actually, but they relented and changed. But this is what Twitter does. And this is an illustration of how much these platforms hate YouTube. However, if I scroll down a little bit, and I apologize for having to see me twice, here is a natively uploaded video. Now, it's got a number of advantages. We've got no signaling colors, okay? But does it contrast? Well, it certainly contrasts against that, doesn't it? So immediately it's standing out. It is the biggest thing on the screen because native video will always take up the whole of the feed. That's what every natively uploaded video across every single platform does. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, I mean, Instagram, if you do the right format, it'll do it anyway, one by one, but it gives it the entirety of the screen. So it's overwhelming, you can't miss it. And it's moving. So in terms of signaling colors, contrast, size, and movement, 75% of those boxes are ticked by just the fact that it's a video you've uploaded to the platform. And if you had a red background, even better, if that works. And every single one of these platforms pushes video harder than any other type of content. All of them do, without exception. And I don't see that changing at all. You know, Instagram might be trying to get back its uniqueness by, you know, trying to separate itself from TikTok. Fine. If they do that, say I need to do some research on that because there's just a couple of whispers and I haven't got any formal stuff on that yet. But right now they're pushing video and reels as hard as anyone else is. It's just nuts, really is. So I'll stop sharing there. So there's kind of an illustration again of firstly what it looks like, and again why it hits 3 of those 4 really important criteria, but also just as an impression of how YouTube is viewed now by social networks. Don't put YouTube, or if you want to share someone else's YouTube link, that's fine. Pop that on your content, great. But if it's your content you've created yourself, take that video file and upload it directly to the social network. And then you can upload it separately to YouTube because YouTube still is incredibly valuable. So let me share some YouTube stats with you before we go on to kind of the final bits and pieces we're going to talk about today. So here's the Instagram stat that should be shared with you now. And let me get so I can see it. Come on, YouTube. Excellent. So hopefully you can see that Instagram stat at the moment. My PowerPoint is really misbehaving today. Let's get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. Lovely. So here's the YouTube stats. 74% of your consumers still use YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google. It's still an incredibly important place to have a presence. And weirdly, because of its relationship with social media, which we'll kind of get to on one of the other stats, 70% of users say they bought a product after seeing it on YouTube. So that is still a huge number of people who are using YouTube as a means to research and get the credibility of organizations and products. But this is where it's really interesting because the social networks are going, I don't like YouTube, we're going to make it look rubbish, but the users do. So social media users are 4 times more likely to use YouTube to research a brand. So they might see it on Facebook, but they are going to go to YouTube and do some more research on it. 4 times more likely to go to YouTube than anywhere else to figure out what that product service is about. And 41% of social media users want brands to post on YouTube more often. So there is a synergy between the two of them. As much as the social networks are trying to distance themselves from YouTube content, you can't separate YouTube content from the people who are using the social networks. I love YouTube. It is my principal means of entertainment. To be honest with you, I watch a ridiculous amount of YouTube. It's on my telly. I watch it like I used to consume content, when it was normal BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Channel 4. In fact, I'm old enough to remember when it was BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. I remember Channel 4 being launched all those myriad years ago. So it's still a very important place to be. And I would use YouTube. Now, YouTube has 2 other really good functions, other than being on the second largest search engine in the world. So it's a great place for you to be for discoverability, and the fact that it is a nice partner to your social media content. There are 2 other reasons why YouTube is really good. First and foremost, now I'm not an expert on email marketing and I don't pretend to be. However, YouTube videos on emails, so you get yourself a MailChimp template, for instance, and you can pop a little YouTube box in it. A video in the subject line of an email can increase open rates by 14%. And they are shared something like 20 times more. And again, being a YouTube link that's sat in a template doesn't slow the email down, doesn't make it too big, and generally is less likely to get caught in spam filters as well. So video can be very, very good, or YouTube video can be very, very good for email marketing, but principally it's great for websites. And here are the stats for websites. People will spend 60% longer on a website that contains video. So if you got video, which is best streamed from somewhere like YouTube or Vimeo, one of those proper streaming sites. Now, YouTube, the better option simply because it's YouTube, although Google does not prioritize YouTube links over any other links. That is a fallacy. There was a vicious rumor going around that if you had a YouTube link, you'd get better SEO than you would if you're using Vimeo. That isn't the case. Google is very good at being fairly platform agnostic for stuff like this, but my money, YouTube is the better option anyway, simply because it's YouTube. But here's the killer, which you probably already had and seen, including a video on the landing page of a website. So when someone searches, they land on a page, or you've got a link, you've done a piece of pay-per-click advertising on Facebook or on Google, and they've clicked onto that page, landing page being the first page someone visits of your website. Video on the landing page of a website can increase sales conversion by 80% or more, which is huge. And again, that is a statistic that has remained unchanged for about 3 or 4 years. It comes up every single time I do this research. Now, again, this is based on statistics that I got, I'd say, last week or a couple of weeks ago. That particular one hasn't gone away. That one has come up again and again every year for the last 4 or 5 years. And YouTube is by far and away the best way of delivering that, mainly because it's a link and therefore doesn't slow your page down like embedding a full video in can be. Or again, from Vimeo, you can even stream video content. You can get a link from Facebook. So if you've got lots of video on Facebook, you can actually right-click on the video. It gives you a URL that you can then copy and paste into the into your website, which will play the Facebook video in the website. So it doesn't have to come from YouTube, but as you can see from the statistics, YouTube is a very important part of people's decision-making processes. So that's why it's important overall. It impacts every single part of your communication with your customers as far as your digital marketing is concerned. Because people are comfortable with it and they like it. Everyone is comfortable with video, but again, some people, if you've got a client group, just going to stop sharing for a moment. If you've got a client group who are, under 25, you probably want to be doing as short form content as possible. Whereas if you're trying to get to people like me, I'm quite happy to watch a 10-minute video on YouTube. I do like the short form content. I just find it quite amusing, but I'm someone who likes to I'm prepared to watch, I'm prepared to invest if the content is useful, informative, educational, entertaining, etc., etc. So that's why video is really important and why should we definitely be considering it for our digital marketing campaigns. It just does the job better than anything else at the moment because your customers like it more, but critically the platforms that you're putting it on will push it harder than your static content. Right, so some things to think about. How are we doing for time? Yeah, perfect. So equipment. You don't need a lot of really expensive equipment. I'll share this slide in a moment for you. We can start off with a mobile phone. If you've got a 4K mobile phone, so one that is able to record in 4K, which is incredibly high resolution, I would use it. The reason for that is that if you are, for instance, if you're using YouTube and you're using Instagram, YouTube likes their videos in that direction. Instagram likes their videos in that direction. And what you don't want to have to do is record that way and that way. So if you've got a 4K phone that's able to output that level of quality, you record it that way. And then in a piece of editing software, you edit it into the shape of Instagram. How do you know I have a 4K phone? I would Google it. Also, if you go onto the video, there'll probably be an option and for different resolutions. So they're generally 4K, 1080, and 720. So your resolution when you're on the video itself, or even on the camera, will tell you whether you've got 4K capabilities. But that means that when you edit it and you take that big video and you edit it down into a smaller one, it doesn't lose quality because there's enough pixels going on to make sure it doesn't lose quality. If you don't have a 4K phone, it's probably best if you've got YouTube, LinkedIn. YouTube and LinkedIn like it that way. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok like it that way. Twitter likes it that way as well. Twitter is vertical format, horizontal format. Just record it twice. That way for those platforms, that way for the other platforms. Just try and get 2 lots of content because what you don't want to do is chop up a 1080 image. It will be blurred and horrible. Really well. So a microphone is always a good idea. People generally don't mind poor video quality, but audio quality is something most people do not like at all. So pick up a microphone if you're going to do narrations, if you're going to be talking. So there's a couple of options and they're not expensive. You can buy lapel mics, little lapel mics that clip onto your clothing for about £15 to £25 on Amazon. I've got a Sony one that I use for recording, which cost me £25. If you want to go a little bit better, I've got a condenser microphone, so it's one that is directional, so it picks up what's directly in front of it. So there's lots of noise going in the background. It doesn't pick it up, and it comes with a little spongy bit to stop the wind. So if you take it outside, it doesn't get with wind. But also it comes with a little one of those little circles, which is an anti-sibilance thing. You know, when you see those kind of little mesh circles in front, that is there to stop your S's going so you don't sound like a snake. That's what those boards are for. It cost me £45. It's a USB one that clips into my phone, and it just means that my audio quality, if I want it to be, generally I'm recording training videos for organizations that have asked me to do that. I use that one to make sure the audio quality is top notch. So microphone is a good one. I would grab a tripod as well. So again, if you're going to do anything, having something that can hold your phone still, and again, tripods, I've got a big old tripod because I had to buy the big size of tripods. I'm 6'2", and your normal standard tripod size is too short for me. So I had to buy a bigger one, but it still only cost me 15 quid from Amazon. And it comes with all the attachments, and I can just put my mobile phone on it again, just to keep it still. You can also buy desk mounted tripods as well. So if you're doing content like this, you know, if you're going to use your phone, you can hold it still. So that's something. I would also think about lighting. Now, lighting is really important. Now, my lighting is, I don't have any lights on me at the moment, other than the spotlights in the roof of the dining room, and I happen to be facing the back door. So I've got loads of natural light coming this way, which means I don't have lots of shadows over my face. What we don't want is a situation like with Ruth, for instance. Sorry to pick on you, Ruth, but I can see you. We can see on our screen, on the left-hand side of the screen, which might be your right hand, there's a kind of a white sheen, which suggests to me that there's, hold up your left hand, Ruth. Yeah, so, sorry, yeah. On the right-hand side, there's a window, am I right? If you look to your right, there's a window? Yes. And I know that because the right-hand side of your face is lit and the left-hand side of your face is in shadow. And we want to avoid that when we're recording video as much as possible. So face the strongest light source, as I am in this case, so you reduce shadows. If you can't do that, again, vlogging lights cost £10 to £15. You can get some ridiculously expensive ones. And you get a couple of them and just have them 45-degree angles to you. It cuts out all shadows and just improves the quality of the recording you're doing if you're recording yourself. You can buy dedicated cameras if you want to. I've recently bought a separate webcam for when I do public speaking courses. I record the people public speaking. It's much easier for me to have a webcam on a tripod to record them than having to wiggle my laptop around to kind of get the webcam on there doing it. And again, it's how much you're prepared to spend. But if you're doing tutorials, if you are doing demonstrations, you know, of software, I mean, if you go onto my YouTube channel, the majority of the tutorials that I've got on my YouTube channel have been recorded via Zoom. So I just get a Zoom meeting up for just me. I then click on and share my screen with Facebook or whatever it is, and I go, well, click here, do this, do that. And actually, you can get an awful lot of good quality just using the webcam. And, you know, you can record on Zoom or Microsoft Teams if you want to. And there's some things you can take that a little bit further. So those are the types of pieces of equipment that you can share. And I'll share that screen for you as we go. So here is that screen, just again, so it's on the recording. A gimbal as well is one of those things. They can be quite expensive, and the cheapest ones are about 50 quid, but they're the things that you put your mobile phone in. And if you're walking around, it makes sure that your mobile phone is absolutely static. So you can be running around or moving about, and it just makes sure the mobile phone doesn't wiggle around. It just has a good kind of element to it. We've got some applications that might be useful for you as well. Zoom, I think, is brilliant, again, in terms of recording things. Again, if you want to do an interview with someone, again, you can record your Zoom. Zoom will record the audio separately, so you have separate audio for you and the person you're interviewing, which means, again, quality and editing can be quite useful. If you want to go really hardcore on your interviews, Riverside FM is pretty good. Because what Riverside FM does, it records on your laptop and on the participant's laptop, then syncs the two together, so you never get any problems. If your internet isn't particularly stable, it doesn't matter, because the recording of the person you're interviewing is being recorded on their laptop, and then it's kind of synced over onto Riverside FM. So it really maintains good quality. There is a free version of Riverside FM, as well as kind of tiered paid versions as well. iMovie, if you've got a Mac, it's a really good editing tool that comes free with Macs. Cyberlink Power Director is the editing tool that I use on my Windows laptop. There is a free version of it you can use, which is fully featured, but you do get a watermark in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen that says edited on Power Director. However, just upload the video to Canva and you can cover that up with your logo, just saying. But in terms of I pay for it, and it's £120 a year for a very fully featured piece of editing software, which is like £10 a month. So if you're doing a lot of video, it really does pay for itself. Canva being brilliant for editing, for adding images to video, which is absolutely great. And Unsplash, which is a good free source of static images. So again, if you want to add images to your video, your own images are probably best, but if you don't have the luxury of being able to see 5 columns or 5 pillars, you can actually use something like Canva, to Unsplash to find good quality images. So we'll stop sharing there. How are we doing for time? Perfect. Got a couple more things to say and then we are done. So don't overrun because it's rude. So video presentation tips. Eye contact goes via the webcam. Don't look at other people. Don't look at anything else. When we're talking, we direct our attention to the webcam because that's how we make eye contact with the people who are watching the video. And we can maintain that eye contact indefinitely without people feeling awkward. So, and what I will do, I've got some tutorial videos about this kind of stuff. And when I send the slide deck over to Helen, I'll include some links. So you've got some resources to go back to so you can have a look at some of this stuff where I'm doing like 5 or 10 minute videos on it. The other one is, again, face the strongest light source. Make sure that your camera, whatever camera you're using, is at eye level. What you don't want is your laptop to be on the desk in front of you and you looming over it. So make sure that whatever camera that you're using is at eye level, which might mean elevating your laptop, which is good for posture anyway, to be honest. So make sure that's that. They can use microphones if necessary. Editing is your friend. Most editing software is really quite simple. You put the video in, and if there's a blip or a problem, it basically says, where do you want to start cutting this? And you kind of put, I want to start here. And then you do a little bit of blip or you say something wrong. And then where do you want to stop? And it says there. And you just highlight those 2 bits, press delete. It deletes the bit you don't want and just moves the 2 ends of the recording together. And again, if you look at my YouTube channel, a 10-minute video on my YouTube channel is probably 25 minutes of content because with the best will in the world, my teeth do fall out every so often. When I'm live streaming, I don't mind the occasional mistake, but I try to remove ums and ers from my videos because it's not great. And quite often I go, I make a mistake, I say something wrong, or, I just forget, in which case I stop, collect myself, give me a second. So I've got some editing space and then I do it again. And then I just go, cut that bit out. So the editing software is your friend. And know your script. When you're going to be delivering on a video, know what you're going to say and kind of have that in mind. And if you can read a script, but most people can't read a script without sounding like they're reading a script. So what I would do is to have bullet points or things or reminders of what you want to say. So you've got some flow and then just practice beforehand to make sure there's a good flow of information. And again, if there's any blips, cut it out. Cool. Okay, thanks. So last thing I want to talk about is video on demand. Video on demand is potential to pay. So VODs, video on demand, is any video that you're watching retrospectively. So Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, when you watch a YouTube video or watching BBC iPlayer, if it's not live, you're watching a VOD, a video on demand. And that means that it's there and we can watch it anytime we like. So some of these can be monetized. I'm going to share a screen with you now. And this is the last screen to share. It's specific. So if you want to make money, and again, I do actually have, just so Helen knows, I have delivered an entire course just on monetization and VOD. So if I think that's something that is going to be valuable to Ambition Broxbourne, I do actually have a 2-hour piece of content, which is around video on demand. So YouTube, you require 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time before you can even put an advert on. And on YouTube, you get a share of the advertising revenue. So an advert in front of a video, YouTube gets paid X amount of money by the company for showing that, that advert, and you get a share of it. But you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of annual watch time before you can even do that. And that takes a huge amount of effort and a lot of content. I tell you that because I've got YouTube channels that I don't anymore, but I used to put a huge amount of content on. I didn't even get close to that, despite all of my best efforts. Patreon, am I sharing that one? Yeah, I am. Patreon is a subscription model, so it's quite a good one. So there isn't any, you don't have to have a certain number of people on Patreon, but what you do is you put your videos up, and then people can pay a subscription, and you can have different tiers. So for £3 a month, you get these videos. For £10 a month, you get all of these videos and this. And you can actually build up a really good subscription-based service with a reliable income. Facebook, don't even bother. 35,000 people liking your stuff, and there's something in the region of 1,000 hours of watch time a month that they require before you can even put an advert on. Facebook monetization is a mess. Don't even bother. Twitch is a live streaming platform, which is generally used for things like computer games, but it can be used for streaming conferences. Or, I know that Bob Ross, before he died, I think, the fabulous painter did some stuff on Twitch. So Twitch is another option, and the monetization on Twitch can come in forms of donations that people give whilst the stream is going on, but potentially as well subscriptions, which bring a regular income in. But to do that, you have to provide regular content. If you're not providing regular content, people aren't going to want to be doing it. So there's a commitment. If you want to make money from video, there's a commitment to regularly be posting content. So Teachable, if you want to put content up that is about training or workshops and things like that, Teachable is a good option. They do take a percentage of your revenue from that as well. So these are the kind of some of the places you might want to go. Udemy as well, if you're doing courses, is a place where you can get potentially paid for training, workshops, those kinds of things. But it's worth thinking about. But to be perfectly honest with you, for small businesses, I would suggest the impetus behind using video is to raise awareness, is to get customers, and is to have good marketing content, rather than the intention of making money. If you get to any of those points, if you get to YouTube and you've got 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, you then have the potential to earn some money from it. But you've got to ask yourself, is adverts being popped up in the front of all of my content going to annoy my customers and eventually or potentially put them off? So, there's pros and cons as far as that is concerned. On the slides as well, which I will get to, Helen, I say probably on Friday, because when we finished here, I'm packing, jumping on a train and going to Bradford for a course I'm training tomorrow. But these are some of the things that can be very useful in terms of video content overall. So something to have a little look at and play around with. So before we finish up, do we have any questions from anyone? I know Helen would like another photograph before we go, but any questions before I wrap up? Say it's 12 o'clock finish time. I will finish at 12 o'clock in terms of content. I'm quite happy to hang around for a few more minutes for questions if necessary. And you can unmute and ask if you like, rather than having to furiously type into the chat box.
What about live videos? Is there any benefit to doing live videos?
Live video can work incredibly well, yeah, particularly on Facebook. Live video is generally considered to be more trustworthy. So I think you get something like it's a ridiculous statistic, this one really, but a 14% uplift in authenticity. So people consider your content to be authentic and more trustworthy if you are live streaming. So live streaming is a really good thing to do, particularly for Facebook, because Facebook will, if you live stream, every single person who follows you on Facebook will get a notification to say that you're live streaming. So it's a great way of getting the word out there. So yeah, absolutely, live streaming is great. And the great thing about live streaming these days is you can actually then use something like Zoom, and you can live stream your Zoom through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, which means you can share slides, you can do polls, you can do all the things you do on a Zoom. It just happens to be streaming through Facebook or YouTube or wherever it might be. However, for live streaming, you need a significant upload speed as far as your website, your internet is concerned. If you want to successfully live stream on something like Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you really need a minimum of 3 megabits per second upload speed. And your upload speed is usually about 10% of your download. So your download is your normal stuff, which you're using at the moment to see me. But your upload speed needs to be 3 megabits per second, which you generally only get on a fiber optic internet connection. However, something like Zoom is optimized to be workable on a very, very low upload speed. So again, Zoom's a good option to live stream in, and you can promote it on Facebook and get people to come and join you on Zoom. But unless you've got really high-end fiber or super fast fiber optic, you're likely to lack the upload speed to be able to credibly stream on Facebook, YouTube, without significant stuttering and lag and breakup of your content.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. I will take some more questions, but let us, if you don't mind, do another photograph. So if people wouldn't mind popping their cameras on, and then if you don't want to pop your camera on, I can simply hide the people who don't have their cameras on. So I'm going to do that now. So hide non-video participants. I'll give a couple of seconds for people who want to put their videos on to put their videos on. Bear in mind, like I said, on the photograph, you will get your names on it, unfortunately. It's on the video recording, but we'll get that. But fine, here we go. Taylor, lovely to see you. Right, lovely. I'm going to do control print. Oh no, we got a smile. We didn't smile. I'm ready to give you a count of 3 and then we're smiling. 1, 2, 3, smile. There we go. Awesome. Lots of lovely smiles there. Any more questions before we wrap up? Because if there are no more questions, that is all the content that's going to be around for today. And it remains for me to say thank you all very much for attending. I hope it was a useful and informative session. All the very best of luck with your video performance going forward. I'm looking forward to seeing some. I do follow some of these organizations, I believe, around social networks. If you've got more questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, if you want to get on with the rest of your day, feel free to hit the big old red end button and get on with your day. And thank you for the notes. I hope it has been helpful. But thank you very much. So any questions, please ask. Otherwise, feel free to go on.
Thank you, Michael. Brilliant.
No problem. I will stop recording now.